Hello YouTube, it's Ryan here with Hobbies of Men once again, and today we are doing another chapter review for Kaiju number 8. Now today we're going to cover chapter 35, and as always we're going to have a recap section, then an actual discussion, and then maybe some theories if I come up with any. Right, so no big news for this week just yet. We didn't really get anything else. I think something happened and they changed the page marker thing on like Jump Plus or something from like whatever it was originally, which was like the Kafka image where he's in his really cool power pose into Kikoru or something like that. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I think there was some change on one of the legal manga reading apps when it comes to Kaiju number 8, but it wasn't really that big of a deal. It wasn't really important, so I'm not really sure what it was, but it's on the mangaka's Twitter, I think, which is Ringo _ something else. I don't remember the rest, but I'll put it up here so you guys can see the mangaka's Twitter, right? So, yeah, that's all for the news section. There's really nothing there. Again, I do want to remind you guys that the first English edition is going to come out sometime in December, I think, the first week of December, if I remember correctly, which is really exciting, and I'm really hoping to see the next couple volumes announced soon, but I don't know when that will be, right? So, yeah. Now, I do weekly, tri-weekly, like whatever, I follow whatever the schedule is for the release dates of this series, and I make videos a couple days after the chapter releases. So I have a lot of videos about this series. If you guys want to watch that, it's in the Kaiju number 8 playlist, or at the end of the video there's a playlist section on the end card that you can check out. So yeah, I have a lot of good videos there. I have a bunch of chapter reviews. I also have some like other types of videos. Like I have one where we look at all of the heights for different characters based on like comparing it to other things around their surroundings. I also have a first look at the Japanese edition of Volume 1. If you guys want to check that out, it's pretty cool. But yeah, let's jump into the review here. The recap is basically that last chapter, chapter 34, we essentially got like a transitionary chapter, essentially, kind of, where we kind of deal with some of the aftermath of Kafka getting captured, but not really, because we mostly focus on the secondary characters. We have Iharu and that other guy and Reno all chilling together, having a conversation, and then they get called in and are told that they're going to be reassigned to a different division so that they can train with the rest of the best and brightest that the JDF has to offer currently, which is pretty cool. Iharu didn't want to originally, but then Reno stepped up and he was like, yeah, I'll do it. And so everyone else fell in line, which is not that bad. It was really cool. And then we had Kikoru going to talk to her dad, which we now know is Isao Shinomiya, in order to try to get him to release Kafka from imprisonment. But what he did instead was tell her that she's a failure for getting her life saved by him, and he lets us know that Kaiju were the ones that killed his wife, aka Kikoru's mother, and that's why they have a big hate for them, which is interesting. I guess that's why he pushed Kikoru to be better than him or be as strong as him, in order to have her succeed where maybe he won't, because, you know, he's getting old, right? And destroy all Kaiju, which is pretty interesting. It's a very meaningful kind of backstory, but he's still kind of a dick. But he's so badass, so it's okay, I guess, and not really. But he's a very interesting character. And then we got the beginning of his confrontation with Kafka, and where he goes into Kafka's holding cell area, lets him know that he knows that Kafka could break out of this holding area whenever he feels like, gets him to release himself, and then he talks to Kafka. Kafka tries to say he's human, and this guy says, no, you're not, and then he shoots him point blank, which was super cool, and Kafka manages to survive the encounter, which proves his point, right? And that's basically where we left off, and it was a really good chapter, so if you guys want to see the whole chapter review, it's up there in the card. But yeah, let's jump into the actual review now. Chapter 35 has 18 pages, and it's kind of short, but I guess that's expected since it's an action chapter and not really a conversation type of chapter, so I don't know, it's fine. But yeah, it opens right at the end of the last one. We get the same like little scene at the end where Shinomiya tells Kafka that he's not human because life forms on this planet can't block bullets with their arm. And he calls him Kaiju number 8. And then we get kind of started with the next kind of bit, which is Kafka saying that he is not Kaiju number 8, that he's a person, right? Shinomiya starts to put on some interesting gauntlet type of things that have these really big kind of like tubes going across them, which I guess are kind of like hydraulic pumps, I guess. Like the hydraulic things that are like a big cylinder, then a small one that kind of like go together like that. I don't know what it's called, but I'm pretty sure it's a hydraulic type of thing. And yeah, apparently these gauntlets have some sort of like AI thing, or at least have some sort of situation where they kind of synchronize with the person wearing them, because there's this whole thing about them linking to him and then synchronizing between the user and Kaiju number 2's cells, right? Which is interesting. I kind of know that we've seen situations like this before, because if I remember correctly, the weaponry that they use is made from Kaiju leftovers or Kaiju cells or whatever. So it makes sense. And then once it kind of sinks, it's ready for usage. And Shinomiya, Mr. Shinomiya, says that you're going to die in that form, because Kafka is thinking about maintaining his human form in order to try to convince Mr. Shinomiya that he's not a Kaiju, which is pretty good on Kafka's part, but pretty bad in terms of like you're gonna need to fight and you're not gonna survive if you don't do this correctly. So you should probably try to be a Kaiju for this, right? And yeah, eventually Mr. Shinomiya says that the disposal of Kaiju number 8 starts now. And yeah, it's kind of crazy. Kafka, like I said, decides to not transform. And this ends up being bad because there's a giant, massive attack that comes his way. That kind of looks like a giant hand, just kind of like, what's it called? Trying to trap him, like how cats do the thing where they play with the animal that they're chasing and they just like swat it with their paw. It's kind of like that, but it was like a gigantic like hand that kind of tried to attack Kafka. He dodges nicely, but loses an arm out of it, like the front part of his forearm and his wrist are basically cut off completely, and this giant paw gouges the earth like in front of him, which is like crazy. It's so powerful. It's super cool. And basically there's another big attack and Kafka is thrown back. He gets like hit as he's trying to dodge, because apparently this guy's just so powerful with these gauntlets, right? And yeah, so yeah, the viewers, which are Kikoru, who's actually kind of distraught about the whole thing, and this other guy that was at the JDF meeting when they were talking about what to do with Kafka, is impressed. And he's like, yeah, man, Shinomiya is like the strongest person in the JDF ever. Like he's the best soldier that has ever come out of the academy or whatever the situation is. And it doesn't look like he's losing any of his power by getting old, which is pretty cool. Like, Mr. Shinomiya is just a badass. He just, like, could be better if he wasn't so mean to Kafka. But I really like that there's, like, a lot of variation. There's a lot of different kind of people going on and kind of having their own life and being affected and interacting with Kafka very differently. So it's very cool. I really do enjoy that. I think they're doing a really good job with this. But yeah, Kafka is partially transformed. He's kind of got all of this, like, armor sections on him, but only like skin deep, so like you see them but they don't really like pop out and actually like help him. It's not like he's wearing his Kaiju suit. He's just kind of like has it visible, which is not that great. Like, it's not working that well for him. And he gets attacked again, and essentially Kafka decides that he's going to stall out the overheating situation that happens with the suits to try to, you know, get Mr. Shinomiya to stop attacking him. However, this doesn't seem to work because Mr. Shinomiya is just like gonna pummel him like crazy, right? Kafka has this kind of danger sense thing going on. He's noticing that he's reacting more, not violently, but like he's reacting differently than he would when he would be fighting humans. And he realizes that it's because it feels like there's another kaiju around him. It seems that Mr. Shinomiya has the aura of a Daikaiju, and they have this in a super cool image where it's like Mr. Shinomiya, and then in the background it's like his face, but really distorted and really like violent looking, and I thought it was super cool. The imagery that they use here is so awesome. It's just so cool. And yeah, apparently they explain Kaiju number 2, which is this Godzilla looking character with this like skull mask on top of his face. And apparently these gauntlets are made out of Kaiju number 2's cells, right? And only Isao Shinomiya can use them, which is just like even more badass. Like that's so cool that only Mr. Shinomiya can use these like OP gauntlets, right? Like it's so awesome. And then we get a kind of little side note from Kafka that he remembers something Kikoro told him about these special weapons made from harvested kaiju cells. And apparently these special weapons are called numbers, which is because they're like labeled as numbers in some way, which is kind of cool. I think that it's a pretty lame name for like some super badass kaiju killing weapons, but like, okay, it's fine. It doesn't really matter that much. But they could have really come up with a cooler, more badass name for that than numbers, right? But I don't know, man. That's just kind of how it is. And then they keep fighting, and Kafka tries to dodge, right? But apparently he hadn't noticed that he has no arms and no legs. He basically looks like Anakin Skywalker after he fights Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they have the whole like meme about him having the high ground and stuff. And he ends up like just like armless. He only has one arm left. The other arm is cut off, and his 2 legs are cut off. And yeah, he can't dodge, and he gets mollywopped in the face. Like this guy just like punches the hell out of Kafka completely, like right in the center of his body, and like the impact hits his face and his the rest of his body, right? And that's basically where it ends. That's all we get this chapter, and it was super cool, super quick read. I really enjoyed it, and I'm actually kind of surprised that we had so much action going on this early in this arc, because I felt like the setup for this arc was definitely that it was going to be a more exposition kind of character driven situation, more so than an action driven situation for this arc. And I'm kind of interested to see how that kind of changes, or if it stays the same, because I felt like this was when we were going to learn about Kafka and Kaiju in general, right? But we haven't really. We're just kind of learning more about the JDF throughout this whole thing, so it's kind of interesting. And yeah, I don't really have any theories for this week, but I do want to reiterate some of the theories last time. Now, because of the way that Mr. Shinomiya worded what he said to Kafka when he met him, I'm thinking that Kaiju are aliens. Now, as far as I know, Kaiju are not necessarily aliens. Like, Kaiju can be aliens, and Kaiju can also be, like, ancient life forms from Earth. But, I think the current, like, modern version is that they're aliens, right? And that's interesting, but I really want to see more out of it, and I really do enjoy the aspect of them being aliens, because that could mean that we get some mecha type of situations going on with Kaiju number 8, or we can get into some space battle type of stuff, which is really awesome, because I'm really onto that science fiction kind of thing right now. And manga that has battleships or spaceships is always super cool, and stuff that has mecha is always super cool. So I'm really excited to see where that kind of goes, but I wouldn't mind if it stays mostly a down-to-earth urban fantasy, or like not urban fantasy, urban science fiction battle against the giant monsters type of thing in a more Super Sentai style. I just think that it would be really cool if it turns into a military, like, space science fiction. But it doesn't really matter. I'm super, like, happy with Kaiju number 8 right now, and I just really enjoy the story, and I can't wait to see what else happens. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, thank you guys again. See you guys later.